Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a whole GAT multiple choice section live on camera so that you guys can see the best way to approach questions and how I'm looking at the GAT. This video is the follow-up to a video I've already made about what the GAT actually is, tips and tricks, how to approach each of the sections. So if you haven't checked that video out already, please do click on the card somewhere up in the top right hand corner of the screen and check that video out first, because then this will probably be more helpful. I'll only be filming the first part of this video on this camera, so please do appreciate the good camera quality while it lasts. And also, if you guys appreciate the fact that I am literally doing a GAT after I've graduated, please do smash the like button on this video because it helps the channel grow quite a lot. A quick note just before I do the test that I am doing is going to be the 2018 GAT. So I chose that one because I had a scan through all of them on the VCAR website, and the 2018 GAT was the one that I thought had the least copyright material taken down. So I think on the 2018 GAT, all 70 questions are actually available. So I'm gonna do that one. I definitely have done this test before in 2020 because I did it as practice for the GAT, but I promise I don't really remember. I don't know why I would remember the questions I did on the GAT, but hopefully this helps you guys answer some of the questions that you might be struggling with on your own GAT. I'm sure all of you guys know where to find materials for the GAT already, but if you don't, I'll put the link to the VCAR website where the practice GATs are linked, and you can have a look at them through there. That's enough of me talking, so let's move on to my other camera and show me doing the GAT on camera. Hey everyone, I've got the GAT here on my computer on OneNote, and I've got my Surface Pen here, so I might just be writing on the screen a little bit to show my working for some of the questions. I've also got the answers here in a different tab, just so that we can see after I do the questions whether I got them right or wrong. And if I got them wrong, I might be able to explain why I might have gotten it wrong. So let's just get straight into the GAT. I won't be doing writing task 1 or 2, just because they weren't my strong suit anyway, so I don't think I'd be setting a good example by doing them. And I won't also be timing the GAT this time, just because I don't think I struggled with time in the first place. So I'll be taking around 1 hour to 1.5 hours to do this, and you'll probably be able to see with the length of the YouTube video how long I actually took. So let's just get straight into the first question. And the first one we see is this one, which is a sort of cartoon and a prompt. So these ones you see on the GAT a lot, and I don't know if you think they're funny or not, but we have 3 people dressed identically. They say, one guy says, "Well, what a coincidence, we're individual traders too." The first question is that the man speaking in the cartoon is best described as boastful, insightful, imperceptive, or socially awkward. So one of the tips I gave in my other GAT video is that if you should definitely bring a dictionary in case you don't know what any of these words mean. But from this stimulus, I'm thinking that I'm leaning towards C straight away, just because they're all dressed the same, and he says that they're individual traders, which is pretty imperceptive because he doesn't realize that they're all pretty much identical and not individual. So this one would be C. So now with the second question, we've got the cartoonist associates conformity with shrewdness, superficiality, mutual support, and a lack of imagination. So I think with this one's a bit harder, because sometimes I find these questions hard as well, just because I don't really know what they're actually going for. But I think straight away it's not shrewdness or mutual support. I'm leaning towards B or D, superficiality or a lack of imagination. So I think there's nothing to suggest that these guys are superficial, but I do think they lack imagination because they're all dressed the same and they have no differences between them. So that's why I'm going to go with D. Now, since I've finished this set and the next one is different, I'll also check the answers. We've got C and D, so we got those 2 right as well. So now with this second set, Unit 2, I think this is more of a maths question. So many woven fabrics are composed of 2 sets of threads, the weft threads and the warp threads. So I'm just reading this diagram as well. Figure 1 shows that during weaving, the weft threads are woven over and under warp threads that are usually held tight in a frame. Okay. So for any woven fabric, the weft and warp threads may be composed of different materials. Strength is the maximum force, measured in newtons that can be applied to the fabric before it tears. Elongation is the maximum percentage of stretch that can occur before the fabric tears. Okay. And then we've got these graphs that show the strength and elongation measured in both the warp and weft directions of 6 different fabrics. Okay. And we see black is the weft direction, so that's left to right. And the grey is up and down. Okay. So for each of the fabrics, weft strength is less than warp strength. Let's have a look. That's not true. Weft elongation is less than warp elongation. Let's have a look at these. That's also not true because of fabric 4, where the weft is stronger. Weft strength is greater than warp strength. This one would be true, and it's pretty tricky because they've changed the scales as well in both of these. So this one would be C, I think. Actually, no, this one would be A because they've changed the scales. Yep, so I've completely missed that. So the weft strength is less than the warp strength is true because this one has a lower scale. It ends at 3000, and for each of these fabrics, the weft strength is less than the warp strength, which is higher. So we can just go through them individually, but we probably don't have to because it seems like that's all true. Even in 6, which is probably closest, is close to 3000. This is 1250. So this one would be A. Ruth usually uses fabric 5. She now requires a fabric with greater weft and warp strength and greater weft elongation. Okay, so now I'm looking at fabric 5. So I'm just going to circle fabric 5 for now. And we're looking at weft and warp strength. Okay, so that's about 3,700, and weft strength is 1,000. And greater weft elongation. So we're looking at weft elongation, that's about 35, let's say. So which fabric would best meet Ruth's requirements? There's 1, 3, 4, and 6. Okay, so out of 1, 3, 4, and 6, 3 does not have a greater weft strength, so it can't be 3. 4, 1, and 6 all have greater weft strength, so we'll look at warp strength. And 6 does not have a greater warp strength, so we can cross out 6. Now we're just left with 1 and 4. So we're looking out at weft elongation, and 4 is the only one with a longer weft elongation here. So this one would be 4. Compared with fabric 2, fabric 6 has greater, weft strength and warp elongation. We'll have a look at each of these. So fabric 6 and fabric 2. Okay. So now I'm going to look at these. I'm just going to circle these. Okay, so fabric 6 has greater weft strength, less warp strength, greater weft elongation, and less warp elongation. So it's less on the warps and greater on the weft. So this, reading each of these, that gives us C because it has greater weft strength. Yes, that's true. That's this graph. And then greater weft elongation, which is this graph as well. Okay. So let's check these answers since we've finished the unit. That was 3 to 5, I think. So let's just tick these. A, C, C. A, C, C, that's right as well. So I'll just tick these. And then we'll move on. Okay, so we've got unit 3, which is a poem. Days they come to us. I'm not going to read the whole poem. I'm just going to have a scan through right now so that this doesn't go for way too long. Okay, so the first question is lines 1 to 9 suggest that, and I'm going to read through all of the answer options just so have a general idea. Lines 1 to 9 suggest that past experiences influence the present. We have no control over our lives. Every day presents us with a fresh start, and most people's lives are dull and insignificant. Okay, so let's read 1 to 9. That's up to here. Days, they come to us empty but not clean, like unrinsed bottles. We can't keep them. Our task is to fill up and return. Okay, so I think this would suggest that past experiences influence the present because of this specific line, because they come to us empty but not clean, like unrinsed bottles. And they talk about how there's asides filmed with the film of yesterday, which is definitely suggests that past experiences influence the present because they're making an analogy between days and bottles. Okay. So the next one is that which one of the sayings below best reflects the meaning suggested in lines 7 to 12. Okay. So now I'm going to read 7 to 12. That would be this night. So that's from here to here. We can't keep them. Our task is to fill up and return. There are no wages. The reward itself is said to be the work itself. Okay. So this is talking about days. So I'd say the most likely one that would be reflected here is going to probably be a life as a gift. I'm not really sure about this one. It would either be, it's definitely not B and C because there's nothing really about surprises here. And there isn't much excitement in the poem here. But I think the other possibility is D, life is a great adventure. But again, there's nothing really in the poem that would suggest that it's anything adventurous or anything exciting. So let's move on to 8. Which of the following best captures the point made in lines 13 to 18? So let's read 13 to 18. So that would be from here to here. And if we question this, get angry, scream at their round clock faces, or try to break the glass, we only hurt ourselves, the days remain intact. Okay, so this is talking about your perspective on life. And I think this one would definitely be C because they're talking about how the poem says that if we try to break the glass, we only hurt ourselves and the days remaining intact. The days are the glass. So that definitely suggests that time is impervious to our desires. Then the poem suggests that nights are not a weakness of days because nights. So let's have a read from 22 to 24. Okay, so they wake us up with light and leave us in the dark, for night is not their weakness, but a tease to make us dream of death. So that's very, very dark, but we'll keep reading. So the poem suggests that nights are not a weakness of days because nights, it's definitely not A, can be soothing, definitely not C, can be inspiring. But I think since there's talk of death, it would definitely be a reminder of life's fragility. B. Okay, so that's the end of the unit. Let's have a look at whether we got these questions right by looking at the answers. So we've got 6A, 7A, C, and B. Let's see. A, C, B. Yep, that's right. That's good. I definitely get a bit nervous checking these ones because I'm not that good at the poem ones. I'm much better at maths and science. But let's go to the next unit. Kylie assembled a toy dinosaur puppet from a kit. The kit contained a puppet mechanism made from 2 tin discs, to which a rubber band. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just scan through it now so that I can understand what's going on maybe. Oops. And take your time, maybe pause the video as well if you want to read it. So these are the sort of science problems that you get on the GAT, and often you'll have to just understand how the actual thing works. So kind of. And then neutral position. Okay. So the main purpose of the rubber band is, so from actually looking at the diagram, what you can sort of understand is that when you pull this ring down, this point is going to move this way, this point is going to move this way, and this point is going to move this way. So what happens is that the tail will move down, the head will move up, and then this rubber band will move slightly up and it will be stretched. And then once you let go of the ring, it will stretch back. So that tells us that the rubber band will allow the head so what it will do is it will return the head and tail to the neutral position when the ring is released. Because when you pull the ring down, it stretches the rubber band out, but then once you let go of it, it will bring it back. Okay. So question 11, suppose Kylie, don't know what's happening with this. Suppose Kylie alters the attachment points of the metal rod in the puppet mechanism as shown in figure 3. All other aspects of a puppet remain the same. Okay. What will happen when she pulls the ring? So now what will happen is that when she pulls the ring, this thing will move this way, and this one will move this way before it moved from here to here. So it won't do that anymore. Now it will move, it will still move in the same direction, but it will move upwards. And then because this is below this point here, this one will now move downwards. So the tail will go down and the head will also go downwards this way. So both the head and tail will fall. That's the end of this unit, so we'll check this. 10 and 11, D and B. D and B is right. That's great. So with unit 4, we're looking at when the bacterium sea level in seawater is greater than 30 organisms per 100 mil, it is unsafe to swim. Again, I won't read these out loud for all of them just because it'll take ages to get through this whole thing, but I'll just have a scan through the data and feel free to do the same. At 10 beaches. So the important two parts I think so far are measurements were taken at weekly intervals starting on the 1st of January 2017, and if rain was recorded at the beach, additional measurements were taken at that beach on each of the following 2 days, and these are shaded grey, so that's these ones here. Okay, and then if it's greater than 30, it's unsafe to swim. Okay, so which of the following best represents Y and Z? So Y would probably be, so it's very likely that Y would be not measured because it wasn't measured on the 24th, so it's not going to be measured on the 25th as well. So then that will probably be one of these, an asterisk, and so that can cross out A and C. And then Z is very likely to be, it's not going to be not measured because they measure it every week, so it can't be B, it's going to be D. So with 13, when in January 2017 were the beaches at both Baytown and Port Car most likely have been safe for swimming? Okay. So we'll look at Baytown, that's this one, and Port Car. So they would have been safe for swimming. Well, we see that they're safe. Port Car is safe when it's below 30, so that is before, it only goes above when it's raining. So these ones are fine. But then we see that randomly on the 24th of January, it goes up a lot to here, which is interesting. So what I'll have a look at is Baytown as well. So they're safe when the bacterial level is less than 10 organisms, and that occurs when, not at any time, so it's not going to be A. On a day after rain, to reread this, if rain was recorded at any beach, additional measurements were taken at that beach on each of the following 2 days. So it's not going to be a day after rain because we see this 189 and we don't know what that V is, but that just means that we can't say a day after rain. 2 days after rain, we also can't say because this is 34. So it would have to be more than 2 days after rain. So that's going to be D. Based on the trends in this table, which of the following is the most likely order from lowest to highest of W, X, and Z? Okay, so we have W, X, and Z. So Z is most likely to be the lowest, in my opinion. And we see that at Gulltown, the first day after rain is always very, very high. So it's likely that Z is also very high. And then in Baytown, it also seems to be intermediate. So I'd say that X is greater than W is greater than Z. Oh, lowest to highest. So that would be ZWX, which is D. Okay. On which day or days in January 2017 did it rain at the Seaport beach? Okay. So we'll have a look at this. Seaport is this beach. It did not rain on the 15th because there were no measurements taken here. It did rain on the 23rd because the measurements were taken here. So that would be the 23rd only, I believe. Yeah. So that probably wraps up. That wraps up this set. We'll have a look. This one was pretty hard in my opinion. It was D, 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 A. Let's have a look. D, 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 A. That's right, good. So I'll tick those. And we'll go to the next set. So now we are doing, okay. So philosopher Stephen Toulmin asserted that an argument is composed of the following elements in no particular order. Okay. And then there are several things in this table. And then below is an argument that uses all elements of the Toulmin model. And then I suppose we have to look and sort of match what they are. So of the following, which sentence represents the rebuttal? Have a look at this, what the rebuttal is. Either a counter argument or a consideration of possible challenges to the argument. So now I'm going to just read this whole thing. Sorry about that, my OneNote just crashed really randomly. I'll start this question from where we left off. So we were reading the argument that uses each of these elements in the Toulmin model. So the first sentence is that pet owners should be legally required to sterilize their pets. In 2012 to 2013, blah, 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 euthanized close to 30,000 cats and dogs in Australia. Many of these animals were not pets, but the product of unplanned breeding. Pet cats and dogs are known to escape their owners' yards, particularly to follow an instinct to mate. Of course, to impose this law on registered pet breeders would deny them a legitimate source of income. So this one, V, looking at the rebuttal, this is the first sentence that actually considers like what might be a difficulty. So like they say, oh, if we impose this law on registered pet breeders, they might struggle. So 5 would be the first sentence of rebuttal. Which element from Toulmin's model is least necessary to offer an argument? So we'll read all of these models. So the ground is a fact of evidence, and the claim is the main thing. Rebuttal is like the counter argument. Qualify a statement or phrase that limits the strength of the argument or the conditions for which the argument remains true. I believe the qualifier would probably be the least, but that's not an answer option. And then we've got a statement that bridges or explains the relationship between the claim and the ground. So that's important because it's the ground is the proof for the claim, so they have to be related. And then we've got the backing, a statement that supports or proves the warrant statement. So I think the backing would actually be the least important out of everything. Below is an argument that uses only four of the elements of the Toulmin model. The importance of the arts in the school curriculum is sometimes questioned by experts. While it is true that, While it is true that the skills learned in painting or dance may not be as directly useful to one's general employability as a good foundation in math, science, and literacy, there are some useful dispositions that the arts foster in children. Doing any kind of art engages us in the process of creative possibility thinking, in which we seek new and interesting ways to do things. Thus, the arts perform a worthy and crucial role in the school curriculum. Okay. So the first thing we start off is the rebuttal, because they introduce what the criticisms, what the critics say about the arts. So definitely not A. And then what they talk about is, let's just review what the qualifier was. Statement or phrase that limits the strength of the arguments. Yeah, so that'll be true, because the qualifier would be next, because it's what limits like what the rebuttal actually is. So they say, while it is true that the skills learned in painting or dance may not be directly useful, there are some useful dispositions that the arts foster in children. So that is the claim, and this is the qualifier, or the ground. The ground is, let's have a read again, facts or evidence offered as foundation for the claim. Actually, now that I think about it, it's probably not the qualifier, because I'm just having a read again. So the qualifier is a statement or phrase that limits the strength of the argument, and the claim is a statement being argued as true, or a conclusion being reached in an argument, and then the ground is the facts or evidence. So I think it's pretty clear that this is the evidence. So doing any kind of art engages us in the possibility of creative possibility thinking, and then thus the arts, that's probably the claim. So this is the ground, and this last sentence is going to be the claim. So I am thinking that it's C. Which of the following would best function as a warrant in the argument on arts in the school curriculum? So let's read what a warrant is again. A statement that bridges or explains the relationship between the claim and the ground. And the claim is the conclusion they're trying to make, and the ground is the evidence for that. So in this stimulus, the ground we said was that arts produce possibility thinking, and then the claim was that the arts are a worthy and crucial role in the school curriculum. Therefore, we need to bring a link between those two things, and then we'd probably say that these ways of thinking are becoming increasingly valued by employees. Yes, that's true. I think it would be A just straight away from reading that. So that's the end of that unit. Let's see what we got. We wrote C, D, C, and A. We'll have a check. C, D, C, A, that's right. So that's great. These ones are pretty difficult. You have to think a little bit, but in the end, it's okay, I think. So questions 20 to 22, 3 types of coral, R, S, and T, grow in a particular area along the Queensland coastline. 6 coral reefs, U to Z, in the area have been classified into 4 classes as shown in the figure. For example, reef U contains 35% R, 55% S, and 10% T. Okay, so this is how we have to look at it. All right, so I think the first thing I do is make sense of the diagram. Which of the following reefs has the same proportion of T as reef V? So this is just a matter of getting this line and drawing it out. It's clearly X, B. Next question. In which class would a reef that consists of 30% R, 10% S, so let's just draw that first. 30% R is here, 10% S is going to be either here or here. So we don't really even need to look at what the percentage of T is, but it's 60% T, so it's here. That would be in class 2, so B. Which of the following could not be correctly classified as a class 4 reef? So we'll just look at A and go through all of them. A reef with equal quantities of R and T, so 50%, Yep, so that would be 50%, 50% R and T, so that would be that would be here, I believe. Or it could be anywhere from, so theoretically it could be 40 and 40 here, could be 30 and 30 here, but none of these could be class 4. I'm trying to think if there's anything that could come in 4. But I don't think there's anything, because if we tried to get a quantity of R like 70, we wouldn't be able to get an equal quantity of T. And if we tried getting 60% R, we couldn't get an equal quantity of T because 60% is here. So I think this is A. So that is that set. We got B, B, A. So look at this. B, B, A is right. Great. Next set, question 23. The man who waits for a roast duck to fly into his mouth will be waiting a very long time. So this proverb is primarily a comment about luck, effort, efficiency, hopefulness. I think this is clearly about effort, because it's like, if you don't cook the roast duck, it'll never come. B. Yeah, that's right. Now, next set. Mud is washed into a lake by rain. It accumulates as sediment. The mud contains 3 different contaminants. A rate of 0.5 centimeters per year, each year. The graph shows the concentration in milligrams per kilogram of each contaminant in the sediment, measured at the end of 2010. For depths of up to 40 centimeters. Okay. For example, at the end of 2010, the concentration of X in the sediment at a depth of 40 centimeters was 5 milligrams per kilogram. So that's I don't think I'm reading this correct. Oh, yep, so that would be this. Yeah, I believe so. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, so I'm going to read it again. For example, at the end of 2010, the concentration of X in the sediment at a depth of 40 centimeters was 5 milligrams per kilogram. And then the concentration of Y in the sediment at a depth of 30 centimeters was 90 milligrams per kilogram. Okay, yeah, so I am reading this right. So that's this point and that's this point. It's just telling you pretty much how to read the graph. Sediment at a depth of 30 centimeters in 2010 was deposited in the lake in 1950. That makes sense because it was deposited at 0.5 centimeters each year. Okay. At what depth in the sediment does the concentration of X exceed the concentration of Y? So that's going to be somewhere around here. So this is 30. But 30 is here on the Y. So we have to look at, I think, what this point is going to be. So that's around 40. And we have to check when his hits 40. And that's around 15 to 17 centimeters. I don't think this is exactly 40. Because let's just have a look at each of these. So if we have a look at 5 to 7, that's this. We're getting to about 30, but this doesn't even come close to 30, I don't think. It would be much easier for me if I had a ruler that I could use, but unfortunately I do not. We have a look from 10 to 12. These very shaky lines. We're going from about 40 something, 45-ish to 50. So that does look like it would exceed the concentration of Y. So it's probably B. This would be much easier if I had a ruler on me. We'll see how that goes. See if that one's right. If it's not B, let's have a look at the other ones as well. We've got 15 to 17, so that's like from here to here. That one is probably definitely not right. Yeah, that one is definitely not right. Then 20 to 22, we have 20 to 22. That one is also definitely not right. Okay, so it's probably B. Compared with sediment at a depth of 5 centimeters, sediment at a depth of 7 cm contains, so let's just draw, what I would do if I had a ruler is just draw a line through here, but I can't do that. And then 7, we're looking at 7, like, which is like here. The first thing is that the scales are different, so you got to be careful about that. So look at the answer options. Lower concentration of both X and Z. That's not true because the concentration of X increases, so it's not A. Higher concentration of both X and Z. That is not true because the concentration of Z decreases. So it would be a higher concentration of X and a lower concentration of Z, which would be right, yeah. 26 and 27, additional information. Assume that mud washed from the mine site contained X, Y, and Z in concentration greater than 5 milligrams per kilogram only in the years in which the mine operated. Okay. Greater than 5 milligrams per kilogram. Okay. So therefore that tells you that they're only washing, that's referring to pretty much just this part of every graph. So that's from 30 centimeters to 5 centimeters down. So that was deposited in 1950. So, and then we have to check, this is 5 centimeters down and this is 2010. So 5, that would be 10 years back because we divide 5 by 0.5 to get 10, which tells you the number of years. So this would probably be 2005. At the end of 1990, the concentration of Y in the mud washed from the mine site was closest to. Okay, so if we know that this, we can just use the knowledge that 30 centimeters down is 1950. And then we know that there is, how many years? 40 years from 1990 to 1950. So if we divide 40 by 0.5, an easy way to do this is just multiply by 2. This is going to be 80. It'll be, sorry, no, it's not going to be, it'll be 8 centimeters. So this should be, let me redo this actually. So if the sediment accumulates at 0.5 centimeters per year, we have to calculate how many centimeters it would go from 40 years. So we do 40 times 0.5, sorry. And that just divides by 2, it gives you 20 centimeters. So this is at 10. So we're looking at that point, and the question is about concentration of Y in the mud washed from the mine site was closest to. So we've got this point, and we just draw a line down. It's around 40. It's probably 40. Yeah, I think it's 40. If it's not 40, it's 50, and I would have gotten it right with a ruler, but we'll have a look at these answers. So we've got B, D, C, and A. B, D, C, A, that's right, good. So now we've got a much longer passage. I'll have a quick scan through this, but sometimes it can be useful to read the questions first, but since there's quite a few, I'm just gonna take my time and read the whole thing. Pair of brown capuchin monkeys. Okay. It is a well-known fact that they prefer grapes to cucumbers, so I guess that's some important information. One monkey gets a cucumber and the other a grape. Sarah Brosnan and Van Zerwell carried out just this experiment, focusing on female monkeys, and they found that the monkeys hate being disadvantaged. So a monkey in isolation is happy to eat either, but a monkey who sees that she's received a slice of cucumber while her partner has gotten a grape reacts with anger. So some primates dislike inequity. And this is the term they use, disadvantageous inequity aversion. babies as young as 12 months prefer fair-minded cartoon animals to unfair ones. And then an aversion to getting less is just one aspect of unfairness. We sometimes balk at receiving more than other people. And then that they call that advantageous inequity aversion. We'll give up something good because it's more than someone else is getting. Okay. So Brosnan and de Waal's research demonstrated that capuchin monkeys have empathy for others, are not naturally competitive, not necessarily, can be motivated by self-interest. That's definitely true. Because the monkeys are self-interested and they want a better treat. They want the grape rather than the cucumber. Disadvantageous inequity aversion is best described as a dislike for getting what is less than what is desired. So advantageous inequity aversion is when you dislike getting more than others. Or actually no, it's not C, it's A. Dislike for getting less than others. Lines 13 to 16 suggest that the concern for equity demonstrated by capuchin monkeys is, okay, so 13 to 16 I think. Yep, 13 to 16, so we'll have a look at where that is. 10, 11, 13, so it's from this line to this line. Okay. So this instinctual aversion is to getting less than others has been found in chimpanzees and dogs, and it occurs, of course, in people in whom it seems to develop from a young age. Other psychologists have found, for example, that babies as young as 12 months prefer fair-minded cartoon animals to unfair ones. So it wouldn't be shared by all animals. I'm thinking A is right, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have a look at the other answers. A natural instinct in some animals, but learned by humans. It's definitely not D, so it's either A or C. The concern for equity demonstrated by capuchin monkeys is demonstrated by humans. Yes, it occurs in people whom it seems to develop from a young age. So yeah, I think it is A. I'm not sure if this is a bit of a trick question, but I do think it's A. According to the passage, humans are distinct from other animals in that we may at times prefer that others receive more than us. May at times prefer to receive less than we are given. I think I'm looking at B at the moment, are most often concerned more for ourselves than for others. So let's have a look at the passage again. It's definitely in the last passage or so. Unlike our other animals, we sometimes recoil or balk, react against receiving more than other people. Okay, so that's the other unlike other animals part. So humans are distinct from other animals in that we may at times prefer that others receive more than us. So that might be A. It's not A. It's definitely not receive less, because it's all about other people, like the relationship. It's not more for ourselves, so it's either A or D. I think it's A. So we'll just check these. We got C, A, A, A. So we had C, A, and 31 was B. So let's have a look at this one. Okay. So let's read the passage again. I crossed out B, so actually we'll just keep circling and we'll use red. So according to the passage, humans are distinct from other animals in that we may at times prefer that others receive more than us. So, unlike other animals, we sometimes balk at receiving more than other people. Yeah, so I read that wrong. Receiving is the clear word here. Yeah, so it's about this. The difference between A and B is that A is about we prefer that others receive more than us, which is not what the passage is saying. The passage is saying that we prefer to receive less. So that's B. So I hope you guys can understand why I got that wrong. And now we'll move on to the next one. Oops. Not sure why the things keep just glitching. But Unit 11. So I think we have 4 statements. So it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. Democracy substitutes election by the incompetent many for appointment by the corrupt few. If our democracy is to flourish, it must have criticism. If our government is to function, it must have dissent. Democracy is a form of government in which people hold the power either by voting on issues directly or voting for a representative. Then it says, which quotation is most critical of democracy? This one's a bit subjective, but I'd probably say, from reading all of these, it's definitely not 2 or 3 because they... I'm reading critical differently. So critical probably means that most, like, in this context, it probably means most ill speaking of democracy. So that would definitely be 3 because it says basically that democracy is corrupted. Which quotation is the most neutral about democracy? I'd say that this is going to be 4 because it doesn't necessarily say anything good or bad about democracy, it just says what it is. So that's D. Consider the following. I believe in the politician who makes himself a nuisance. He gets snubbed and is told that he's cranky or ill-informed, but he does expose the abuses which would otherwise never have been mentioned, and very often an abuse gets put right just by being mentioned. With which of the quotations would the right have been most congruent? So this is about like talking about what's wrong. So that's definitely number 2 because 2 talks about how criticism and dissent are important. So this would definitely be 2. Let's have a look at these. So we got C, D, B. We had C, D, and B. That's right. Okay. So Unit 12, we've got questions 35. A supermarket gives customers who spend over $30 a lucky ticket with the chance to win a prize. Each ticket has a 9-digit number. Winning tickets satisfy the following condition. Okay, so 3 times the first 3 numbers added together plus, okay, so there's just a mathematical equation here. And assume that each ticket from 0 to 1 to 9, whatever that is available. So which of the following values of D6 will make the ticket below a winning ticket? So that we just follow the equation here basically. So we have 3 times 2 plus 5 plus 1, which is 8, plus 7 times 1 plus 3 plus whatever this number is, plus 11. So 3 times 8 is 24, plus 11 is 33. Then we know that we've got plus 7 by 4 plus, let's just call the number x if we really want to do it, and this has to equal something 0. So there are 2 ways we can do it. We can either just sub in these numbers. That might be the best way to do it because if you put in 1, you get 7 times 5, which is 35, and then 5 plus 3 is not going to equal 0. If we put in 2, we get 6, then you get 40. 6 times 7 is 42. 2 plus 3 is 5, not going to work. You put in 3, so it's not 1 or 2. Put in 3, you get 7 times 7, which is 49. That's not going to work. And let's just take 4 for the sake of it. 7 times 8. Actually, no, I've made a mistake. Oh, this is 35. Whoops. This is 35. I'll start again. So 7 times 5, 35. It's going to work, so it'll be A. Lucky to check that. What is the chance of a ticket beginning with the 8 digits shown below being a winning ticket? Okay, so we've got 3 times 1 plus 1 plus 2, which is 4, plus 7 times 4, and that is going to equal 12 plus 28, which is 40. I've got to check if this is right, actually. I think I might have made a mistake again. 12 plus 28 equals 40, so it's fine. So then the only other thing that we could add, so then we have to add 1 plus some number. And this number can only be 8 for it to be a winning ticket. So the chance is 1 in It's important to check these because you can have the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 possibilities, and only 8 is going to give you the right winning ticket, so it's C. Okay, that finishes that one. We'll have a look at this. It's A and C. We've got A and we've got C. Good. I made a few maths mistakes in that one. Okay, next unit. Another short story. We can try to... I'll try reading these. I'll read the whole passage first. And a man at a party meets the host's daughter, Eileen, in the kitchen. Were you asleep? Did we wake you? He looked at her again. Worn textbook laughed at him. You're in high school. I'm a senior. I was a year out of school when I had pneumonia. He found it difficult to think of something to say. So he pretended he was listening to distant noises. It's a fine party, he said again, vaguely. I suppose you like parties, she said. Dumbfounded, he sat staring into his empty coffee cup. He supposed he did like parties. Her tone had been faintly surprised, as though he were to declare for an arena with gladiators fighting wild beasts. I'm almost twice your age, my girl, he thought, but it's not so long since I did homework too. Play basketball, he asked. No, she said. He felt with irritation that she had been in the kitchen first, that she lived in the house, that he must keep talking to her. I'm writing a paper on the future of the world. Your party out front is talking about it. That's the reason I came here. I don't really think it's got much future, she said, at least the way we've got it now. It's an interesting time to be alive, he said. Lines 3 and 4 suggest that when the man looks at Eileen again, he is. So we'll have a look at 3 and 4. That's here. Were you asleep? He asked. Did we wake you? I was doing my homework. He looked at her again. So in my opinion, this is sort of him like looking at her properly. I don't think he is idealizing. I think he is contextualizing her because he didn't look at her properly before. So contextualizing, he's like giving himself an idea of what she's actually doing. 38. Which of the following most likely explains why Eileen tells the man, I was a year out of school when I had pneumonia? So she says that in line 6. I'm a senior. She seemed to wait for him to say something, and then she said, I was a year out of school when I had pneumonia. So it looks like she's just breaking the silence. So yes, it would probably be, I do think it's A, that she's intimidated by the man's silence. Or it could be D as well, that she wants the man to know that she is older than he might assume. So I actually think it's D, not the one A, because it doesn't really say anything about her being intimidated by the silence. Lines 16 to 19 suggest that the man is irritated by Eileen's. We'll have a look at the answer options too. Petulance, arrogance, nervous immaturity, conversational restraint. Okay. So we're looking at 16 to 19. Play basketball, he asked. No, she said. He felt with irritation that she had been in the kitchen first, that she lived in the house, that he must keep talking to her. What's your homework about, he asked. Okay, so it seems like he's sort of a bit uncomfortable. It's not petulance or arrogance, I'd say, and it's not C. I think it's definitely D, conversational restraint, like the fact that she's not really being really active in the conversation. On the subject of the world's future, line 20 to 28, the man is best described as being indifferent, intrigued, ignorant, intentionally provocative. Okay, so 20 to 28. Writing a paper on the future of the world, she said, and smiled. It sounds silly, doesn't it? I think it's silly. Your party out the front is talking about it. That's one reason I came out here. So he doesn't really want to talk about the future of the world. But he could see her thinking that that was not the reason he came out here. And he said quickly, what are you saying about the future of the world? So it seems like he actually is thinking about it. I don't think it's really got much future, she said, at least the way we've got it now. And then he said, it's an interesting time to be alive, he said, as though he was still at the party. So it seems like he's thinking really deeply about it. I don't think he's indifferent, ignorant, or being intentionally paranoid. I think he's intrigued. So at the end of this unit, our answers were B, D, D, and B. So we'll have a look at this. B, D, D, and A. So we'll see why we got that wrong. Okay, let's get a red pen. So, indifferent. The man is best described as being indifferent. We'll have a look at this. So I'm writing a paper on the future of the world. It sounds silly, doesn't it? Your party is out front, is talking about it. That's the one reason I came out here. So I guess that just, that definitely does suggest that he's indifferent about it. I was only thinking that he was intrigued because he could see her thinking that that was not at all the reason he came out here. And he said quickly, what are you saying about the future of the world? I guess also this sentence here, it's an interesting time to be alive, he said, as though he was still at the party. Suggests that like he has like these default responses to this. And that would suggest that he is indifferent. So that's probably why I got it wrong. I don't really see that before. Let's go on to the next set. So Kim visits a vineyard where balsamic vinegar is being made. 5 barrels, 1 to 5, with different sizes, measured in liters, and types of wood. Each barrel contains vinegar. Vinegar is produced from cooked, crushed grapes that have aged in a barrel for at least 12 months. And balsamic vinegar is produced from vinegar that has aged in barrels for several years. Only barrel one contains vinegar that is aged long enough to be considered balsamic vinegar. Okay. At the end of each of 12 months, Y% of the vinegar in each barrel has evaporated, and the following steps are followed. Okay. So X liters of balsamic vinegar are poured from barrel 1 into the flask. Vinegar from barrel 2 is used to top up barrel 1, vinegar from barrel 3, okay. And then they just top up, okay. Okay, so when Y equals 10 in total, how much vinegar has evaporated from the 5 barrels in 12 months? Okay, so we're just calculating essentially 10% of each of these barrels. So 10% really just dividing by 10, so we've got 60, we just divide so 10%. We divide each of these ones here by 10. I just get rid of these, and then so we're just doing 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2, 11, 15, 18, 20, so that's C. Suppose Y equals 10 again, so if after 12 months 1 liter of balsamic vinegar from barrel 1 is poured into the flask, how much vinegar from barrel 2 is needed up to top up barrel 1? So barrel 1 has 20, then it becomes 18 because 2 liters have evaporated because Y is 10%. And then we also pour out 1 liter, so it's 17, so then you need 3 to top it up. If Y equals 5, we're just dividing all of those previous 10% by 2. So it starts at 20, then it goes down to 19, because if 10% reduction is 18, then 5% reduction is going to be 19. Then we pour out 2 liters, that takes us down to 17. And then with barrel 2, now we have to check from barrel 2, so I'll rewrite this actually. So we got barrel 1 goes from 20 to 17. Then barrel 2, we've got 30, which goes down to, if it goes down 3 at 10, then it's going to go down to 1.5, so that will be 28.5. 28.5. Then we have to pour out 3 as well to fill barrel 1. Yeah, to fill barrel 1. Okay, then we're gonna get 25.5. Then barrel 3, write this. we started with 40, I think. Yep, 40. So then we're going down to 38. Then we also have to add in the 4.5 liters. So we get 33.5. Then we've got barrel 4. This one started at what, 50? Yep, 50. So then if we had 50, we lose 5. We would have lost 5 if it was 10%. Now we lose 2.5. So then we get 47.5. And then we also have to fill 6.5 liters for barrel 3. So then we get 41. Yep. And then therefore for barrel 5, we have to fill in, we started with 60, we lose 3, so we get to 57. Then we have to fill up 9 as well. So that gives us 48, and that's 12D. Okay, if y equals 15, after 12 months, 34 liters of cooked crushed grapes is used to top up barrel 5. How much vinegar was poured into barrel 1 from the flask? These are very tedious. Okay, so we start with barrel 5. It would have started with, if y equals 15, then we have to add 5 and 2.5, so 7.5. So 60 would have gone to 52.5, but we used 34 liters to fill it up. So we essentially have to take away 7.5 from 34. So we're filling it up with, so the way to think about it is that if you're filling barrel 5 up with 34 liters of cooked crushed grapes and 7.5 liters are evaporated, then you go 34 minus 7.5 to find out how much you filled up in barrel 4. So in barrel 4, we have, this is equal to 20, can't think for some reason, 26.5. So you filled up 26.5 liters into barrel 4. So this is barrel 5. In barrel 4, we calculate how much would have evaporated. So if it was 50 liters, then the amount that's evaporating is going to be, I made a mistake. So in barrel 5, it's not 7.5, it's going to be 9 liters that's evaporating. So minus 9, because barrel 5 has a 60 liter size. So then we get 25. So we're filling 25 liters into barrel 4. Of the 25 liters, we have to calculate, this is going to be 7.5, so we get 25 minus 7.5, which gives us 17.5. So 17.5 liters had to be filled up, the rest 7.5 evaporated. That means we're filling barrel 3 up with 17.5. Of the 17.5, we have to calculate how much actually evaporated. 6 would have evaporated, so minus 6. So that leaves us with 11.5. Barrel 2, therefore, we filled up with 11.5. We minus 30, so 3, 4.5. We're minusing 4.5. Because that's 15% of 30. That gives us 7. So then we're filling up barrel 1 with 7. And we're minusing 1.5, which gives me the wrong answer. I might make a cut here and do it again from the start. Okay, so I had a look at it, and I'm just going to start by calculating 15%. So what's evaporating from every flask? So in flask 5, it's 60 liters, and therefore 15% is going to be 9 liter evaporating. Flask 4, it's going to be, that's 6. Oops. In flask 4, it's going to be 7.5 evaporating. In flask 3, it's going to be, let me make sure I'm doing these right. In flask 3, it's going to be 6 evaporating. In flask 2, it's going to be 4.5 evaporating, and in flask 1, it's going to be 3 evaporating. So now I know that if 34 liters of cooked crushed grapes is poured into barrel 5, then you can do 34 minus 9 to give us 25. Then here we take that 25, that's how much we're filling into this. 7.5, we get 17.5. Then we take that here, 17.5 minus 6 is equal to 11.5. We've got 11.5 here. 11.5 minus 4.5 equals 7. Then we've got 7 minus 3 equals 4. So I actually did pretty much I got the answer before, I just made this wrong. That's pretty ironic. Okay, let's have a look through these answers. We've got C, C, D, and B. C, C, D, B, that's right. Good. Okay, phew. So we've got question 45. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth. So in the quotation above, Wilde complains that by wearing a mask, people feel definitely more empowered because they tell the truth. D. 45. D is right. Unit 16. Question 46, 45. So we've got this diagram. This is telling us that that represents 3 times 2 minus 1. So this is the brackets, and this is the brackets, this is brackets. So, and then from reading this one, they give us 3 times minus 2x plus 1. So that tells us that the black circle is a negative, and it's basically just the just drawing the brackets out. Okay, so with this one we get, from here we can get 4, and let's just have a look at what they do. Yeah, so the top one is the x value, so this is the x, and this is the, so we get 2x plus 1 equals 20. Then we just expand the brackets, so we get 8x plus 4 equals 20. Then we just get 8x equals 16, x equals 2. Positive 2, C. Okay. So which of the following is equivalent to this? So let's have a look. This one, let's just say what this is equal to. This is negative 6, 2x minus 7. And now we just have to think to ourselves, what are these equal to? So this one is 6, negative 6 minus 2x plus 7. These are not the same because you'd get, this one you get, we can just expand this real quick, negative 12x plus 42. But this one would be positive 12x minus 42. Let's do this one. This is 6, negative 2x plus 7. This one would actually be right, so it's B, because that one is equal to negative 12x plus 42, which is the original. Okay. So let's write these ones out again. So we've got x, x minus x plus 2 equals, we do this one, we got 2 x minus x. So that's should be pretty simple. On the right left-hand side, we expand this, we have x plus 2, and this side we just get 0 because this is 0. Now we can just factorize this again. We didn't really need to do this step, but it's all right. We get this is equal to x equals 0, and then you do x equals minus 2 for the opposite. So minus 2 or 0. Okay. I think that's the end of this. So we do C, C, B, and C. C, B, oh my god, and A. I got it wrong, no way. Let's redo this to see how I got it wrong. So if we look at, let's do it in red. We're going to start, so the top number is the x and then the 3 is the, okay. So we should get, and for this one we should get x plus 2 equals, and this one should be 2x plus x. I put a minus randomly. So we expand these brackets and we get x squared plus 2x equals 4x. Now we want to make it 0, so we get x squared minus 2x equals 0. We get x minus 2, and then yeah, it's a. So yeah, I just put a minus there randomly. That is my mistake. Okay, next one, another fat passage. I will scan through this. The great bulk of daily scientific work never sees the light of published day, and the ever-increasing glut of journals makes keeping up in one's own field impossible. Truly false starts are deposited in circular files. Oh yeah, fair enough. But experiments fully carried forth and leading to negative results end up all too often unpublished in manila folders within steel drawer files. Forgotten by them as well. We all know that thousands of novels considered substandard by their authors lie in drawers around the world. Do we understand that experiments with negative results fill even more scientific cabinets? Positive results, on the other hand, tell interesting stories and are usually written up for publication. Consequently, the available literature may present a strongly biased impression of efficacy and understanding. Okay. Produced by the underreporting of negative results are not confined to the arcana and abstractions of academic science. So arcana are secrets and mysteries. Serious, even tragic, practical consequences often ensue. Spectacular medical claims for the efficacy of certain treatments may be promoted after a positive result. Negative results often appear in highly technical journals and do not come so readily to the attention of media. Okay. So in lines 1 to 3, the writer suggests that the great bulk of daily scientific work is, let's have a look at this. So we're reading from here to here. Never sees the light of published day, and who would wish for changes here? He's basically saying that there's a lot. The writer suggests that it's not that it's of no value to science, and it is not overlooked by other science due to laziness. And he doesn't suggest here that it's valuable work that should be published, so I do think that this is D. If it's not D, I do think it would be C. Okay. For B, for 50, such biases produced by the underreporting of negative results are not confined to the arcana and abstractions of academic science. So in this in context, this comment is best described as expressing. So we'll read that. Such biases, we'll read around it. Positive results, on the other hand, tell interesting stories and are usually written up for publication. Consequently, the available literature may present a strongly biased impression of efficacy and achieved understanding. Such biases, produced by the underreporting of negative results, are not confined to the arcana and abstractions of academic science. So they're not confined to the secrets or mysteries and abstractions of academic science. So I think in this context, he is expressing frustration that it's occurring in other places. This one is pretty hard. I'm actually not 100% sure about this, but it's not D or C, satisfaction or ambivalence. It's definitely A or B, in my opinion, at the moment, the way I'm thinking. The writer argues that the underreporting of negative results can, we just read this part, but it would be D, make positive results appear more reliable than they actually are. The term non-stories, line 20, refers to the aspect of negative results that is dishonest, inaccurate, uninspiring, or inefficient. Okay, so we'll have a look at this. Line 20. But these subsequent negative results often appear in highly technical journals read by a more restricted audience and as non-stories do not come so readily to the attention of the media. So that's sort of saying that they're uninspiring, I think is the right thing, because they talk about how it would appeal to the media. I'm just going to plug in my computer so it doesn't run out of battery. So the next question is that the passage suggests that negative results should not be given priority over positive results and not remain unpublished, but be published because they might contain valuable information. I think it's definitely C here. So that's the last question for this one. We got DBDCC. DBDCC. Okay, I'll look at this. DB. Let's have a look. So DB. Oops. Getting confused. DBDCC. Okay. DCC. That's good. We got all of them right. So I was right. That's good. That one was pretty hard, in my opinion. Rose has programmed a toy robot to perform two. Rose has programmed a toy robot to perform 2 arm movements, 2 leg movements, and 2 head movements. The robot performs 1 movement at a time, and each movement takes 3 seconds to complete. Okay, so the robot performs a sequence of movements by reading and interpreting a sequence of square and circle symbols as commands. The figure and table show how the robot interprets possible sequences of symbols. The new command sequences commence at start. The robot will continue reading and performing movements until it interprets a shutdown. If a sequence of symbols ends without a shutdown, the robot will pause and wait for further symbols to be entered. For example, the new command sequence will cause the robot to wave, then walk, then clap. It will then pause and wait for further symbols to be entered. Okay, so wave, walk, and then clap. Okay. So which of the following are always the last 2 movements performed by the robot just before it shuts down? So the robot will only shut down if it goes from the head, and the only way you can get down to the head is by doing that. So the only 2 things that can possibly happen are arms circle, clapping, and then head circle, nodding. Clap then nod. Okay. For how long will the robot walk when performing the new command sequence circle, square, square? Okay, so circle will take us to the clap, and then it will take us to the head, which will look up, and then it will go to the legs, and then it will walk. So that will be just 3 seconds. It will only walk for one sequence. So consider the following 2 command sequences. So we'll look at each of these. So we've got square, 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 circle, square. So that will go square, 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 circle, square. Yeah, so that will mean that in the first one it does not look up because nothing happens with head. But then we have circle, square, square, circle, square, circle, square. So we have, let's just get rid of these, square, then circle, then square, then circle, then square. So the second one will cause the nod. That's the end of this one. We got B and B. Oh, so A, B, and B. A, B, and B is right. Perfect. Now, question 9, unit 19. The following graph shows the average distance traveled and the average time spent traveling to and from work each day by workers in Australia between 1900 and 2014. The graph suggests that the change in average travel times from the 1960s onwards. So average time spent traveling is this, so the solid line. It's not inversely proportional. It doesn't continue the trend from here to here. Is generally consistent with the change in trip distances. Yes, I do think that's true. And it can't be entirely contributed to the distance traveled because you don't actually know. Which of the following would most plausibly explain the relationship between travel times and trip distances between the 1940s and 1960s. Okay. The relationship between travel times and trip distances. So we're going from 1940. Travel times increased, but trip distances went down. So that's slightly down. So I think that would make sense that Australian cities become more densely populated because the time went up, but the traffic increased, so the distance went down. Or I'm not too sure about this one actually. It could be A as well, but I'm gonna go with my gut and say C, just because I'm not too sure about A. Because car ownership doesn't necessarily mean that people would spend more time traveling. Let's have a look at the answers. So I put C and C. The answer is C and A. So it was car ownership. So I guess the correlation there is that when you increase the amount of cars ownership, more people are spending time traveling and the trip distance goes down. So I don't think I need to, I did think of that. Question 59, we're looking at a cartoon. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the switch that turns the government on and off. The cartoon suggests that the government is indecisive and unstable, biased and opinionated. I don't think it's B. I find these ones very, very hard. Cumbersome and unwieldy, possibly, but I don't think there's anything to say that it's unwieldy. Mechanical and controllable, possibly as well. I really don't know for this one actually, so this is something I might just guess on the actual GAT if I was doing it, but I'm trying to take an educated guess. There's nothing really to say that it's indecisive. So I'm going to go with D for this one, even though I'm not too sure about this. And D is right, yeah. So I think after looking at the answers, it's more obvious because you can just cut out answers based on what it's probably not going to be. So this says nothing about it being indecisive because there's just a guy there. There's nothing about it being biased. There's nothing about it being cumbersome and unwieldy because there's just a guy sitting there. But mechanical and controllable means more, does make more sense because this is a mechanical thing and this guy can just control the government in this cartoon. Okay, next set. 5 different window cleaning mixtures, 1 to 5, were compared with standard window cleaning mixture. A layer of dirt and grease was applied to a window, which was then wiped off with a cloth sprayed with a mixture. When standard was used, although it removed the applied layer, streaks were produced. This figure gives the composition of mixtures and differences observed for each mixture compared to the standard. Okay. Each ingredient has at most one effect and the ingredients did not interact. Water was an inactive constituent used to make all the mixtures equal in volume. All of the test processes and conditions were identical except for the mixtures used. Okay. So the standard mixture was with these things, so that helps to get an idea of what's going on. Okay. So I think important thing to know is that water is this. Alright, so when compared with the standard, any mixture that does not change how easily a cloth glides. So that's pretty much mixture 1, 2, 4, and we don't know about 5, but they all contain the black. So they all contain the black part, whereas 3 does not. So contain vinegar. I don't know what happened there. Contain vinegar would probably be right. We'll have a look at methylated spirits as well, but no, all of them, they have different methylated spirits. So this one here doesn't have methylated spirits, but 2 and 4 do. So it wouldn't be about methylated spirits. Compared with mixture 4, mixture 5 is likely 2. So we have to sort of decide what each of the things have in properties. So mixture 1, the difference is that it has soap B and soap B causes fewer streaks than the standard mixture. So soap B contributes to fewer streaks. Then we also have this, which is methylated spirits. So methylated spirits gives fewer streaks and is less, but causes less cleanliness and dries more quickly. And then we've just got the water component and vinegar. So it's likely that it would dry less quickly because it has methylated spirits in mixture 5. Actually, the difference between mixture 4 and mixture 5 is that this one has soap B and this one doesn't have soap B, it has soap A. So it's likely that mixture 5 would just have fewer streaks. And that's just getting from looking at the differences between them. Compared with the standard, which of the following best describes the window cleaning characteristics of mixture 5? So mixture 5 has soap B, which would give fewer streaks. And it also has methylated spirits, which would mean that it gives both fewer streaks and it's less clean and it dries more quickly. So we'll have a look again. Methylated spirits makes streaks, less streaks, less clean and more quickly. Okay. So soap B also gives fewer streaks. So but methylated spirits adds less cleanliness, so it wouldn't be C or D. I do think it would be A. This one is pretty hard as well because you have to look at all the possible mixtures. So we'll have a look at this at A, B, A. A, B, A is right. That's great. Okay. Now we're going to questions 63 and 66. In 2015, a farmer spread 2 types of fertilizer, Grow Well and Best Crop, on each of the 4 fields represented in the figure. The area of field 1 equals A1. Okay. The farmer used the following 2 equations to calculate the cost of applying a single fertilizer to a field. Where M is the mass of fertilizer, A is the area, and R is the recommended spreading rate. C is the cost in dollars, and P is the price of the fertilizer in dollars per ton. So note the total cost of fertilizing a field equals C, Grow Well, and C, Best Crop. Okay. The recommended spreading rates in 2015 were Y tons per hectare for Grow Well and 3 Y on 2 tons per hectare for Best Crop. The farmer used the recommended spreading rate, and the price for Grow Well was X dollars per ton, and the price of Best Crop was $4 per ton. So the area of field 4 equals, so if this is A1 and this is 4 by 4, 4 by 4, we'll call each of these little ones X, right? Then 16X equals A1. And then you just have to count these. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I've got 28X here, which equals A4. So then to get this in terms of A1, what we can do is we can go, essentially what you do is you divide, then you know A4 equals A1 divided by 16 multiplied by 28, because you have this 28 and this 16. So then you know that A1 on 16 equals just X, and then you multiply it by 28. So A4 equals 28A1 on 16, which is 14A1 on 8, which is just 7A1 on 4. And that will give you the answer B. What will be the cost in dollars of fertilizing field 2 with Grow Well? Okay, so we have to calculate field 2 first. So that's 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so this is 24. So firstly, let's just calculate the area of field 2. So that's going to be A2 24x. Then again, we do the same thing, where x equals 1x equals A1 on 16. So we just do 24 times A1 on 16. That will give us easy 3A1 on 2. So now we just have to find the cost of fertilizing field 2. So the cost of fertilizing field 2 is, the price is x, the mass is the mass of fertilizer, so the spreading rate is that multiplied by y. So we've got 3A1 on 2 times y so far. And then we also have to multiply this by the price, which is x. And that gives us 3A1 xy on 2, which is C. What mass in tons of best crop was applied to field 3? Okay. So now we've got to calculate the area of field 3. This is 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gives us 32x. Which is just double the size of A1. So we've got 2A1, so this is A3 equals 2A1. Now we just got to figure out the growing rate, and that is best crop. So we multiply that by 3 on 2. So we've got 2A1 times 3 on 2y. I believe that's right. Yeah, 3 on 2y. And then that gives us 3A1y. Suppose that in 2016 the price of Grow Well halved and the price of Best Crop doubled. So let's have a look at that. So Grow Well halved, so half x, and Best Crop doubled. So half x, 8x. To reduce the total cost of fertilizing, the farmer used half the recommended spreading rate for Grow Well and used 1/3 of the recommended spreading rate for Best Crop. Okay. So we have to look at all of these things. So we start with the spreading rate as well. So half the spreading rate for Grow Well. So that's y on 2. And the best crop spreading rate is just going to be y on 2 as well, because you divide 3y on 2 by 2, that just gives you y on 2 as well. Okay, so we're just going to look at the total cost of fertilizing field 1. So we've got A1 in all of the equations, so it doesn't actually matter that much, but we'll put it in anyway. So we calculate the mass, and we multiply that by the spreading rate. So A1 times y2, which is the best crop, and then we've got A1 plus times y2 again for the Grow Well. Well, the first one is Grow Well and the second one is best crop. And we've got to do that all multiplied by, so the first one is Grow Well, so we multiply this by x on 2. Second one is best crop, we multiply this by 8x. And that will give us, in 2016, x, a1, y, we'll just write as a1, x, y on 4 plus a1, x, y, plus 4 a1, x, y. And we probably want this to be in a proper fraction, so an improper fraction, so we'll just get 17 a1, x, y on 4. Okay, now we calculate it in 2015. We probably get, I'm not sure if we've done this already. I don't think we have. We just get a1 times y and a1 times 3 on 2, so this is 2016. So we get a1 times y on 2. I'm not sure if that's right. It's just times y. And we multiply this by the price, which is x, and then we add this to, what was it, 4x, I think, 4x, yep, by a1 times 3y on 2. And this will give us a1 xy plus 6 a1 xy. And this gives us 7 a1 xy. And then if we just put this over 4, we can compare the two pretty easily. So we get 28 a1 xy on 4 compared to, this is 2015, compared to this in 2016. So that means that it is compared with 2015, the cost of fertilizing field 1 in 2016 is greater than half, but less than 3/4. So B. Let's have a look at this unit. So we had BCCB. BCCB is right. Great. That's probably the hardest maths one we've had so far. Okay. So questions 67 to 70. The painting on the opposite page is the fortune teller. It depicts a form of street crime that was common in the 17th century. The people in the painting are identified from left to right as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Okay. So we see this is person 1, this is person 2, this is person 3, 4, and 5. Okay. It's good to identify those people because it's hard to see sometimes. So the old woman is most likely dishonest and complicit, vulgar and demanding, desperate and vulnerable, well-intentioned but misguided. So this is, the first thing to note is that it depicts a form of street crime. So this guy's getting robbed, as you can tell, and the women are like distracting him while the person 1 is stealing from his wallet. So I think definitely this person, like old woman 5, is definitely involved. So I think it would definitely be, it's not D or C, I think it's A, because she's complicit in the crime. The young women 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 4 are best described as, so that's 1, 2, and 4. Yeah, they're definitely accomplices, so they're not decoys, bystanders, tempters, they're accomplices. Young women 4 is best described as, I think, looking at these, wary, delighted, suspicious, frightened. Definitely wary because, you know, she's got her eyes on the guy in the middle. So I think that's A. Which of the following sayings best captures the idea expressed by the painting? Easy come, easy go, beware the wolf in sheep's clothing, vanity is constant enemy of dignity. Keep your friends close. So this is definitely B because these people are like disguised and they're misleading this person. So we'll have a look at this. The answers for this last page. A, D, A, B. Got A, D, A, B. So that's the end of the GAT, the 2018 GAT. I hope you guys found me doing this whole thing helpful. I did make a few mistakes here and there. We can just actually calculate what I got in the end. There's 70 questions and I got 3 wrong. So 67 out of 70. It's not too shabby at all. I hope you guys found me answering those questions helpful and you got an idea of how I'm sort of going about these questions. I did notice that I was taking a really long time to do those questions, and I hope you can understand that that's mostly because I'm reading stuff aloud and I'm explaining my reasoning, which really slows me down quite a lot because I would never really read these statements out loud if I was actually doing the GAT. So I hope you can understand that these multiple choice aren't designed to be really, really hard and that you can do them regardless of like time, and that it's easy to finish the multiple choice in a quicker time than what is recommended by VCAA. So I hope you guys found that helpful, and I'll head on now to the conclusion. So that brings me to the end of this video, and I've said this like a million times already, but I hope you guys found looking at me doing some of the GAT questions helpful. I did notice that it took me a really long time in the end to actually finish the GAT, but I do think that's mainly because I was reading the questions aloud and talking about what I was doing. I do feel like time on the multiple choice section in the GAT isn't really an issue. It also does definitely get much harder towards the end, so you don't want to be spending as much time on the earlier questions because they tend to be easier. If you haven't checked out the video for my GAT strategies and preparation, definitely check that out. I've put the card up somewhere in the video already, and I'll make sure to put the link in the description below so that you guys can see what my tips and tricks are for the GAT so that I can do well in the multiple choice section especially. That's the end of the video, and if you found me answering these questions helpful, or if you just appreciate the fact that I did a GAT after I'd finished high school, do smash that like button on the video and subscribe to the channel because I'll be posting a lot more study related content in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.